Yannick Sinner wins Miami and becomes the new world number 2 on the ATP Tour. But the big question is, when can he become the world number 1? Stay tuned. We're going to find out. But make sure you have hit a like and subscribe to the channel. Let's take a look at the new top 10 before we go any further. Novak Djokovic still at number 1. And Yannick Sinner moves up ahead of Carlos Alcaraz, and he is now the new world number 2. Alcaraz drops to 3. Medvedev stays at 4. Zverev at 5. Rublev 6. Rune 7. Ruud 8. Dimitrov moves up 3 spots and into the top 10 for the first time in 5.5 years. And Hubie Hurkacz just drops down 1 to number 10. Wow, I mean, great to see Dimitrov in there. Yannick Sinner won Miami, only losing 7 games between the final and semi-final. It was 6-1, 6-2 against Daniil Medvedev. It was 6-3, 6-1 against Dimitrov in the final. And in Masters 1000 history, 1990 to the present day, only one player has done better, and that was Rafael Nadal in Monte Carlo in 2010. The semi-final versus Ferrer was 6-2, 6-3, and then the final against Verdasco, 6-love, 6-1. I mean, that is pretty crazy to think at a Masters event you could pull off those type of numbers, but that's Rafa on the clay. And let's have a look at what Yannick Sinner said after his title win. He had somebody asking him, what is more important for you? Your first Miami after 2 finals or being number 1 in the rankings tomorrow? And Yannick said, number 1? Number 2, sorry. Yannick calls that an unforced error. No, for sure, it means a lot to me. But more importantly, it was a great performance for me, especially in that semi-final and final, which for me is more important. Being number 2, it's an amazing feeling. I never thought I'd come to this point from a very normal family. My dad is still working, as my mum too. And for me, it's, you know, sport is one thing, life is different. I'm very happy to be in this position. I'm just enjoying every moment. And these are special days, winning a tournament. Doesn't matter what kind of tournament, it's a special day. It means a lot to me. Well, you can tell he's a very humble guy from humble beginnings, very much a sportsman through and through, an amazing skier. But he's sort of on the precipice now of the top of the sport, a Grand Slam champion, 2-time Masters champion now, and looking for the number 1 spot. And where will he be able to grab it, I hear you ask? Well, these are the next tournaments coming up. We've got Monte Carlo. This is a Masters 1000 tournament that kicks off on the 7th of April, runs through until the 14th. We have Barcelona. That one is between the 15th and 21st of April. We have a couple of smaller tournaments, which I don't believe he will enter. We obviously know Djokovic normally plays in Serbia. I think it was in Banja Luka last year. And then we have the Madrid Masters, which is at the end of April, run until the 5th of May. So those are the tournaments which are coming up. And this is sort of how both of the players that we're going to be speaking about, Yannick Sinner and Djokovic, got on last year. So we look at Yannick Sinner from last year. He got all the way through to the semi-finals in Monte Carlo last year. So he will be dropping a few points, and more points than Djokovic will be dropping, because Djokovic only made it to the 3rd round. Remember, he lost to Lorenzo Musetti.
All right, that's Game to Love. Game to Love, if you want to hear his conclusion on when Djokovic can lose his number 1 ranking. Game to Love on YouTube. Happy Easter to everybody. Thought on XRP versus SEC. Well, I don't know that I have any thoughts. The one thing is I saw this move to the front of congressmen or congresswomen's uh, uh, agenda. And to me, it's a bit of a distraction. Um, as you know, our capital markets leak like a sieve, and Congress and the SEC should be focusing, in my judgment, on removing the market maker exemption from Reg Show. In fact, I would just get rid of Reg Show completely. But anyway, I'll think about that, Fisherman, as we go on. Let me write it down because off the top of my head, I don't have any thoughts. Um, um, but we'll look. I'll revisit it. I'm not pushed. Shoving you off to the side. I just nothing pops into my head. Hey, Vincent. Hey, Eddie Eagle. Guess what? I'm still alive in my office pool. I picked Purdue to win, but I don't think I can win because of my other disastrous choices, like Kentucky. I picked Kentucky. Hey, David. Frank. Cool runner. When is GTII going to run? Run where? I don't know. You know the ingredients. The ingredients are likely. There's no way to prove any of this. This is the problem to the apologists for Wall Street. Well, prove it. But there's likely a massive naked short position. You've got Alpine in trouble, and they're doing all sorts of high priced attorneys' actions to delay the inevitable, in my judgment. I'm sure it's to hide assets, to move it from one hurry to the other hurry, because in our legal system, even though both hurries are probably have the same culpability and have the same earnings power and education, one of the hurries can have her assets protected because she's a wife. I guess. I don't know how it works. I'm not a lawyer. But anyway, so you need Alpine to shut down and you need a buy in. As you know, the NSCC uh, put into writing that Alpine is deficient because of a large naked short position. But Cool Runner, it not only does it get boring, it gets, I think, counterproductive to say the same things over again. At the core, what is wrong in the United States securities markets is that Gary Gensler, Adina Friedman, uh, Chuck E. Cheese Colbeth, whatever his name is, at OTC, and Robert Cook, and your broker dealers do not care that when you put up cash to buy a stock, the other side of that is a fail to deliver. They don't care. They simply do not care. And this is such a huge problem in the US markets now. I guess people just don't want to take the risk of ruining their careers by being the first to go after it. But you know that already, Cool Runner. So the answer of when it's going to run is when you least expect it. Hey, the one, Kiefer. I thought Kiefer had an I in it, but I'm a horrible speller. How are you doing? Oh, I didn't unlock. There's two people trapped in limbo. Where did I write that down? Yeah, I didn't do it. How are you waiting for the moon? Kitties never die. Vicaire. Yeah, happy Easter to everyone. Hey, June Issip. When is GTII going to rise, and why did you and Ham scam us in it? Well, Zach, the scammers are the Kramers and then the Hurries at Alpine. And the co-conspirators are everyone from Gary Gensler on down. In the United States stock markets, if you can con a CEO into signing a convertible note, which gives money in tranches, looks backwards, has a VWAP formula with a discount, well, then these privileged criminals start selling stock that doesn't exist, driving it downward. Now, why did we scam you in it? I don't know, Zach. Uh, um, it certainly wasn't for money. I guess maybe people like you, Zach, on your side of the fence, realize that all you have to do is keep selling stock down, 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 selling stock that doesn't exist. And then you get paid $7 for every response. You're a coward. But in my opinion, Zach, a little bit over a year ago, November, 2 Novembers ago, GTII was in the middle of a short squeeze, a massive short squeeze. I calculated based on the number of shares estimated short that the Kramers were down $1 billion. I believe you, Zach Buzzard, and your friends paid off a CEO and paid off two investment relations guys to convince people to move from GTII to COSM. That's my opinion. It worked for COSM, might have worked for those guys, but it certainly destroyed the squeeze that was going on. I think that's where the criminality occurred. I think that's where the scam occurred. I think the scam occurred when one of the Kramers, Seth, or his brother, Cool Kramer, convinced Reichman to sign a toxic convertible note. I guess it's 3 years ago, and then sold 50 million shares that do not exist. Reichman bought that back, but the selling did not stop. So, Zach, I think you're a coward. I think you're a bully, and I think you're a criminal. And I thank you for stopping by. Finger is green. That's good. I single-handedly ruined all innocent investors that got involved in your crazy schemes. I did. Cool Runner, there were plenty of times and opportunities for people to sell at a profit. I don't believe that I had a scheme, but maybe you call it that. The fact is, though, Cool Runner, guys like you and Zach, who are cowards, you don't put up your name, you never make any recommendations on your own, and you short stock that doesn't exist, or maybe you're able to borrow it. Maybe you're paid off by the criminals, but there's a massive leak in the US capital markets. And that's the situ. That's the situation. So you can call it a scheme, but who benefits? I think you do, Cool Runner, and the rest of your criminal friends, cowardly criminal friends. And I think same with the Zach. Can't wait to see me in jail someday. Well, Cool Runner, if I knew your name, I would ask that the SEC invite you and me in to show our tickets, all of our tickets. I'll never see you in jail because I don't even know what your name is. Wow. Davi Olio. Let me see if I can find that. I like that. That's very good. That's very progressive in the good sense, not the liberal sense, in the making progress sense. Okay, uh, Davio Leo. Nextbridge Hydrocarbons on April Fool's Day announces okay, so Nextbridge has purchased portions, not the entire amount, of 4 drilling prospects from Wildcat SPV, Special Purpose Vehicle, in exchange for 2.5 million shares of Nextbridge. My guess, I mean, very broad range, but because we have not seen the numbers, we can't know. But the value of 2.5 million shares of Nextbridge is pretty darn high. I think it's at least in the tens of millions, if not into the hundreds of millions. We can't know because we don't have the engineering report. But why is that relevant? Daviolio is this is a considerable addition to the upside potential of your shares of Nextbridge Hydrocarbons, in my judgment, with the facts that I can see. They are the Valentine, Panther, Cowboy, and Packer prospects, all located in southern Louisiana. Now, what I know about southern Louisiana is probably just enough to get me in trouble. But southern Louisiana has deep targets, salt domes, and I'm trying to remember if there's anything other than a salt dome, and I can't right now. But 2 or 3 of the companies that I raised money for or invested in drilled in southern Louisiana, and these kind of wells, if in fact these are deep wells they're going to drill, have the potential to be company makers overnight. There's very little reason, to my recollection, to drill shallow wells in southern Louisiana. I could be proven wrong. My guess is these will be deep targets with extremely high upside for Nextbridge. That's my thesis. I stand to be corrected. Chairman and CEO Greg McCabe had retained varying overriding royalty and working interests after payout on these prospects from a previous financial transaction. Okay, so ORRIs, and then working interests after payout are similar ways of benefiting from a project that you put together and sell onward. In the case of the ORRI, you put up no money to get a benefit. It's an overriding royalty interest. If it comes out of the top, and if the wells are successful, that revenue stream flows. You never have to put up any more money. The negative on it is if the prospect or the lease expires or something else causes a lapse in the contractual arrangement, the ORI goes away because it's tied to the lease, to the drilling and the performance of that organization. On the working interest after payout, you get your money back that you put up first, or the other side does, and then you in this case McCabe get a working interest. So you don't get any benefit of the revenue until the other guy gets his money back. Then you get a working interest. Now, a working interest means you have to pay your own way for that percentage. Usually, it just comes out of the revenue off the well, so it reduces the return as compared to an ORRI. But the difference is you can record that working interest at the courthouse. And once the well is producing, it doesn't matter who owns the project, and it's yours. So it's two different ways of doing it. They're both good to have. In order to facilitate the sales below, McCabe has agreed to forego the 25% working interest after payout he had previously, while retaining his overriding royalty interest. So it's not clear. I guess this is on all of the projects. So that's a pretty good deal for us, Daviolio, because he's giving up his 25% working interest, which just in a traditional sense, the burden, the net revenue interest of a project should not be more than 75% or 80%. I mean, less than 75 or 80%. The burden should not be more than, say, 15 to 20, maybe 25%. And in a way, he is giving that up so that if these prospects do indeed have attractiveness, they could be joint ventured or they could be sold onward in the market at a good price for all of us, you. So I think that's great. Now he gets to keep his ORRI, which is usually 1 or 2 or 4%. It won't cripple the aftermarket sales price. I hope I'm being clear. The company is pleased to announce it has already sold its ownership in both the Valentine and Panther prospects to an undisclosed party for a net revenue of $1 million. Well, that doesn't sound like a lot of money, so I guess I'm wrong about the value of Nextbridge common stock right now in the eyes of others. But that $1 million is valuable to keeping Nextbridge paying its bills and improving its asset base. Additionally, Nextbridge will receive a 240,000 spud fee. Okay, so they received $1 million. They'll get a location fee of 240,000 on the first well and 80,000 on the second well. Sorry, a text came across. So they get 240,000 location fee on the first well, 80,000 on the second well on the Valentine. Sorry, read this wrong. They get 240,000 location fee on the Valentine and 80,000 location fee on the Panther. And see, this goes to what I was saying before, Devolio, part of it contradicts what I was saying, but they keep their proportionate share of all deep rights below 20,000 feet in the Valentine prospect. Nextbridge has also retained the option, but not the obligation, to participate in various working interests in the drilling of the two prospects. That's excellent. So they sold their shallow drill, the well they're drilling, for about $1 million, which confirms what I was saying. They're not that exciting, but they kept below 19,500 feet their rights in that deep drilling. That can be massive. To my memory, you could find 1 or 2 trillion cubic feet of natural gas, and the oil numbers, nothing's popping in my head about the volumes of oil that could be discovered. All I can tell you is they can change a company overnight. These are massive targets. They're very similar to the offshore Gulf of Mexico. Nextbridge is also pleased to announce it has entered into a letter of intent to sell its retained right to participate in the working interest leasehold in the Valentine prospect. Nextbridge will continue to market the Cowboy and Packer prospects, the deep rights on the Valentine, and their option to participate in the Panther. McCabe stated, quote, "While the Oro Grande asset is still our primary focus, I have made the decision with full board support to expand into what we deem to be world-class exploration prospects. I am truly excited about these new efforts moving forward." I couldn't agree with them more. These are big, big deals. And Nextbridge is a small company, but these are the kind of things that, if they work overnight, you're on the map. So, Davioli, I'll answer questions, but this is great news. It gives liquidity to Nextbridge, but it also allows Nextbridge to participate. I mean, it's complicated. There's 4 different ones and different zones and all that, but essentially to participate for free. It's a good place to be. Hey, happy Eastern to you, Augustine. Hey, not legal advice. Happy Passover, I think. If I'm wrong, I'm being respectful. But happy this period of the year for God, and glad to see you here. Ham will be coming on at 2:00. I've got to look up the phone number. The way he wants me to do it is to call in to his number, which I can give you. You guys could do it yourselves, and then I'll play it here. That way he doesn't have to take any questions, and he wants to focus on just a narrow focus. Hey, Lee. Well, he's somewhere, Abdu. He's somewhere, and peaceful Ramadan for you, Abdu. He's somewhere around New York City. That email replay or reply from GTI had me in stitches. We'll have to get that. We'll have to get a copy and read it. Now don't get not legal advice going. Well, next thing we'll have a joke. Yeah, that's right, David. Hi, Sada Aman. Nice to see you. I hope your fasting is going well and bringing many blessings to you and your family. Good afternoon, Sunil. I don't understand why he always reads the troll comments. Just move past them, William. It's a good point. I guess, Tony, one thing is I don't want it said that I was as scared to answer any comment, I guess. I don't know. I don't know. You're probably right. Don't read troll comments. Don't answer the shills. Happy Easter. How you doing, mate? Hey, Gary Dush. Thank you very much. I'll read that out because I sit on this side of the fence and I have absolutely no idea how inside my feelings about myself and how I'm reacting can be far different than what it's coming across to you guys. How are you doing? How are you really doing? Love your show. I will take responsibility for my choices. Keep up the yeoman's job. Thank you. I do rant for too long and get too upset. It's not good. I'd say that's probably all right. I'll take my medicine and turn into somebody else. Woody Cardis. Uh, I don't think anything's changed in 6 months. If I assume you're talking about GTII, the only thing for me, and I'm trying to remember, I mean, there's so many YouTube videos out there you can go back and listen to track it down. But I would say sometime September, October, and I could be off a little bit. I started really emphasizing the idea of um, tax loss selling, starting to look at selling a bit, buying it back in 31 days, establishing the tax loss. I also talked quite a bit about looking into other stocks. And frankly, I was looking at the list over the weekend. There was never any January effect this year. Every stock has been hit pretty hard. I mean, the selling never stops. The sellers never run out of shares to stock. And that is a condemnation of Gary Gensler's oversight. He is either incompetent, indifferent, or complicit. And that's just as simple as it can be. And so are all the other names that I usually run through. I think Gary Gensler should be stripped of his salary and possibly sued, and some of his Goldman Sachs fortune taken away from him. But it won't happen. He walks around where his feet don't touch the sidewalk, just red carpets wherever he goes, because he's special. But I don't know. When you look the other way, at what point do you become a crook as well? I don't know. But Woody, in the case of GTII, and you say 6 months, I guess that's about the time frame. There's a fight over the future direction of GTII. GTII has done a dozen things to try to force a squeeze. Many were blocked by the FINRA, SEC. As I've said many times, Woody, in November last, two Novembers ago, the stock was in the middle of a short squeeze. Two people paid by companies to represent them came to you and said, sell GTII and move to COSM, because COSM was going to change its name, change its QSIP number, was not going to do a reverse split, and was not going to do a deal with the shorts. Well, the CEO did all those things. And as an IR guy, It's complete incompetence to say that changing the CUSIP number or changing the name is going to cause a short squeeze. Also, they said there's a massive short, which I went on, and there was another guy, I wish I could remember his name right now. It didn't exist. It was a lie. So COSM took 35 million out of the markets and left us holding the bag as the Kramers got out of being destroyed. In that time frame, Alpine took over the position. And here we are. I don't know what else to tell you, Woody. I really don't know what else to tell you. I cannot control decisions made by CEOs. I cannot control regulatory indifference or complicity. I just can't control it. I don't know what else to say. Yeah, ignore those guys. That's a good point, David. If I call out the name, they get paid every time. Ta-ting, ting-ting, ta-ting, ta-ting. Oh, no, no, no. This is abuse. You could see Dr. Barnard, but he's feeling a bit conciliatory. Hey, Lee Wills, when I mention commodities, they move. Unfortunately, we're running out of time to have one of these squeezes happen to then go into commodities. I think we're going to have to start playing commodities with what we have. El Deuterino, Fatal One. I think Zach and some other people feel like GTII is a scam because of the video that Richard made about GTI yesterday. I'm noticing a lot of scam talk. Well, Martin, it's just look up the Basher's Handbook. Just look it up. Everything is a scam. All the CEOs are bad. Every business plan is a disaster. And the short selling, the breaking of the laws, the collusion is all legitimate. But I think in the broader sense, we have to recognize that Gary Gensler is captured, complicit, or a complete idiot, but he's not going to do anything to enforce United States securities laws. So we have to do our investments with the acknowledgement that the United States securities market are complete frauds. Another rant. Every time I come here, it's a rant. Cosmo rants blaming Lou. Look, Cindy, I don't know. You're probably gone by now. But Lou's been in my prayers. And it's not blaming Lou. It's not blaming Benedetto. And it's not blaming the Greek CEO. It is true that those three recommended the movement from GTII to COSM. Now, who I blame is the regulators, and I blame the system. I don't think guys like Lou or Frank or the CEO should be given that kind of a situation. But anyway, yeah, the commodities are the way to be. On GTII, I don't think I could have been clearer in the sense of saying from about $1, then 80, then 70, then 60, then 50, then 40 cents. some strategies to sell and diversify. I really don't know what else to say. Yeah, I think anybody that paid $8 is hurting. In my case, I should have sold. I didn't. Turns out Lou was correct. When he recommended selling, it was around $3, maybe $4. COSM was 22 cents. COSM went up to 84 cents. And then the CEO did a $34 million deal at 33 cents. And you can judge where COSM is now. But has everyone had a chance to read that about me ranting? Hey, Barbara L. Chuck don't know. Yeah, all the squeeze talks have been Jimmy wants his say. There you had it. Brian, I'm glad you made money, Brian. I really am. And that's the thing. These are trades. And more importantly, Ham is a trader. And Ham doesn't stick around for the glorious go to heaven type upside. If a stock goes from 1 to 9, he's gone. And I'm not saying that he did that with either GTII or Finger, because the best information I have is he did not do that with those. But as a general rule with stocks, when they trade, he always says, buy the dip, sell the rip. Thank you, Jimmy K. You have a chance. I don't agree with you, and you don't explain yourself, but unreal. That's good. You know what, David? I think one thing that might be happening, and I'm gonna in 4 minutes, I'm gonna look up the number to dial in for Ham. One thing that might be happening, David, is last week was the end of the month and the end of the quarter. So the criminals were selling the stock downward, suppressing it for the year end, for the quarter end reporting, month end reporting. Now they're the day trader cowards are feeling trapped, so they come out and they shill because they're at risk. All right, I have the number here. And let me just make sure the speaker is working.
Battery 70%. Connected to Bill's iPhone.
Thank you, David. Jordan, did news drop? I don't think so, but well, I think there's some pressures building up. Davy, Davy, Olio, Ollie income frio. Hey, Sideshow Bob. Hey, Tom M. I hope I can. I get tired of. There's some people here who I consider friends, and then they attack me as ranting and being unhinged, I guess. And I guess I am, but hey, Diego from Southern California. Evening, Squire. Is she a goer? Does your wife go? Well, she's from Pearly. That's a good point, Ryan. I'm so happy. I'm so happy that you have it. Schwab was 11 days, no charge. I'm so glad you have it. I don't have mine yet, by the way. I've been going back and forth, and I'm really worried I'm not going to get my remainder. But I'll let you know if and when I do. The last phone call I spoke, they said April 5th was the soonest that I could expect it, which is in contradiction to what they had said previously. But anyway, at least I'm going on it. Hey, pilot. Let me dial in on Ham's call just so we don't miss it when he comes on. Okay. Okay.
Welcome and thank you for choosing freeconferencecall.com. You're helping people around the world communicate for free. Please enter your access code. Muted.
All right. So when he comes on, I'll stop talking. Do I retain the belief? That's not exactly how I would say it. I think there is a major correction coming. I don't know when. I think, though, prior to it, that the market could be up 30, 40% from here. I think the S&P, just to pick one of the indices, could be at 7,000. So I think there's a huge upside move ahead of us before there's a correction. But when the correction comes, which could be this year, could be next year, I don't know exactly. I hope it's down the road, but I think it could be 85, 90% down. I think truly stockbrokers will be driving taxi cabs and people who own real assets will be driving Maseratis. It's going to be generationally searing. Entire generations will cease investing in the stock market, at least for 20, 30 years, in my opinion. It's going to be that bad. I don't know when we'll do South Korea. I'm going to go to New York tomorrow. But I'm waiting on word there. Yeah, Charlie Mac, I'll learn to skip those. Call the other phone. Hang on, let me see what's going on.
Okay, no problem.
I'm ready.
Let me
All
let
right.
me just merge in.
All right, Ham is live, everybody.
All right, everybody. I have William here, and we're going to be doing a different. The YouTube thing just doesn't seem to work for me, and I'm trying to get William to come to my conference. This way, we can conduct our own little
That's true.
our own little update or whatever you want to call it, learning experience on. And we're going to stay focused on pay motion. And William, a shareholder who I know a long time, begged me to do it this way. He said he watched Dumb Money, and he begged me to focus on one stock versus multiple stocks. And I value the gentleman. His name is Optimuse on Twitter. He was traveling. I'm trying to get him on the call.
He's good. He's good. I agree.
Yeah, he's been around a long time, and it's someone I value. Again, he's not a he's not a frontline fighter, but he's here. He's been here for 24 years. He came in maybe 2 years after I started. He's been here a long time. He lives out west, and he was traveling, but otherwise he would have been on. And he told me to focus and, you know, stop trying to help people make money. That's not my job. And he's right. I'm not here to teach you about the stock market. I try to give you ideas, but that's my own opinion about Kodak and, you know, and these other stocks that I do follow. Yeah, again, I've been following Finger Motion for a long time, so I decided I agree with them, and I'll stay with that. But again, William, I just want to say this is not for the investment advice. This is with just educational purposes, and this is our opinion on what we see and what we hear. All right, so we'll start with that. Williams, let me just jump off a few things. So I'll do a quick one-word sentences. You know, for people trading, I spoke about Root last week and how the shorts knocked it down, and they come back and cover it. And then the stock just made it went to 60 5/8, then it pulled back down to 45. And since that day, it's been gradually moving up. And I said, look for a break of 60 5/8, the old high, and you would see a new high. And today you got to 65. That is a short trying to cover 1,000%. The naked shorts are trying to cover in Root. This is how they do it. They spike it up, pull it back, and then they come and get it again. And keep an eye on Kodak. I think it was 560 also, around like that. This spike last time. If it breaks that high, if you go back and maybe look a month ago, it was high as 560, 570. I can't remember the exact number. But it'd be the same pattern. Kodak has a huge naked short in it also. I'm giving you ideas on trading, things that I look at on my screen. Whether you like it or not, I couldn't care less. I'm just trying to teach you as a trader. You can learn to watch these things down. They destroyed this Donald Trump media stock. It squeezed up to 79. They beat the shit out of it today after there was a story in the Wall Street Journal. I think that's the story in the Wall Street Journal. That was like the dinner bell, go and attack it or something like that, because all of a sudden it's down 15 points. They knocked it down. But these guys, all these shares, they need to cover. I don't believe the people in that stock are giving up. As the trade, you know, if you want to play for a bounce back up, to limit your downside, you can buy options. There's plenty of options. Go pick whatever you want. But the selling will dry up, and the shorts will start to cover. These are big name stocks, and I'm just giving you trading ideas to look for and educate yourself on trading, because eventually you got to learn how to trade. All right, so that's what I'm trying to do for people. All right, William, I hope you had a good weekend, and we'll go from here. You there?
Yeah, I'm here. I did. Thank you.
So everybody, I have William coming up. He's coming up to New York tomorrow. We're going to meet with a couple of big investors, go over a bunch of stuff. Our focus is mainly on Finger Motion, but we have a bunch of people that will be meeting in New York City tomorrow. We'll see what comes out of it, and then we'll move on from that. But I just want to let you know, William will be with me tomorrow in New York, and we'll be running around. So don't look for us tomorrow. We will all be out. All right. Now let's go on to Finger Motion. All right. The attacks. They've been coming since October 10th, I think, 2023. Every day is selling. William, I finally found a couple of people that are stepping in. I had a friend buy 75,000 on Friday. He's a buyer at 200,000 today. He's no jerk. He knows how to do it. He lays his bids in there. He loads the bid side up, and he sees that they attack it. If they
Well,
don't,
not to interrupt your thoughts, except to say one quick thing. I think that buying is showing in the chart. This is a nice looking chart, I think. Anyway, that's all I wanted to say.
These are professional people, you know, and so he decided he was going to stop buying, and he is. I showed him a video with the CEO, which is now a month and a half old, I guess, right now. And if anybody who is in Finger Motion, do your homework. All right, we're not going to go all over the place. We're going to pencil and drill down Finger Motion. We're going to be not Roaring Kitty. We're going to be whatever the hell you want to call us, but we're going to focus on Finger Motion. We're going to know every gory detail about the trading or the company events. We're going to try to figure it all out and keep everyone posted on it. Remember, this company is fully funded now, okay? And they have business opportunities that the CEO said. William, am I correct? I don't want to. You did the interview. Why don't you tell us what you thought he said.
He said a lot, but the overall feeling, I guess, is his confidence in several tacks that they are taking. I'd say 6, maybe 7 different angles they're pursuing should all be successful, and just one of them changes the story of Finger completely and makes it worth $10, $15, $20 a share, in my opinion, without a short squeeze.
Well, the one thing they've done is they beat the stock up so much that they basically, I think they put their finger in they basically trapped themselves. They basically drove it down to where the stock is now, is a buy anyway on where the price is. All right, the company's worth $100 million. They drove it down. No one is selling. People are accumulating it, and it's just a matter of when the buyers really start to ramp up. They don't want to let any momentum come into the stock, because momentum is a killer for the naked shorts. We all know that, and they're just trying to stop that momentum. But I'm a firm believer in accumulation. I don't believe in spikes. I do not believe in charging in, trying to fight these guys, because obviously, they could they're not selling anything they own. They're just creating nonsense. But accumulation is what's going to get them. William, I just have to change the subject for a second. A lot of people ask me about this new SEC rule going from T2 to T1. What's your opinion on it?
Well, I don't see why they'll follow the rules +1 when they didn't do it +2, +3, +4, +5. What's the difference?
Well, I agree with you, but I do think this is going to apply a lot of pressure, because this is the SEC's way of trying to close the door on naked short selling.
Maybe it's a way of warning them that more is coming, maybe?
Listen, I've been doing this a long time. When the SEC makes a move on this, like this, the world is telling them that everyone knows that the U.S. market's all fraud.
Right.
South Korea's done it. China's done it. All India's doing it. They're basically telling you that the U.S. does not have stock settlement, and they're going after naked short sellers around the globe. And the SEC, with the MMTLP case or whatever else is out there, they know. They know that they're being laughed at. Everyone knows about it. If they were to shut it down in one day, it would be like the Big Short, where the market would collapse, because there's not enough money to make this all happen. So they're trying to turn it down slowly, and going from T2 to T1 is just another way of shooting a bullet or a warning shot to let these guys know that it's coming. And I'm sure Gibson Dunn, if they, would do a story on this to alert their hedge fund clients that this is what's going on. I think the SEC is, I've been doing this a long time, is turning the faucet off, and slowly they are going to enforce and get rid of the naked short sellers. They can't do it in one day, because every stock is loaded with them, from Root to Kodak to CVM to Northwest Bio. It's out of control with how big the short is. These shorts are in all these names. So I think that the SEC is basically alerting them and telling them that this is what's going on. And I think that this is going to turn, and I think we'll be okay. And I think this is like the first step in closing the door on this crime, because they've been made to look like fools already. Do you agree with that, William? Yes or no?
Well, I agree. I listen to you, because your instincts, particularly as a trader, are so much better than mine. But I just personally don't think that T+1 is going to change the not settling, not locating, not delivering of shares. But
no,
if it's a way of giving a warning to hedge funds, giving a warning to players without contacting them, colluding with them, yeah, that makes some sense to me.
So if you look at it, William, since you've gotten involved, since you met me and we've been talking about this, The SEC doesn't make a move like this to go to T2 to T1. They don't do it. They do it for a reason. All right. They're not looking to make everybody work harder. They're doing it for a reason, to shut down the fraud. The fraud is so massive. This is a way to slow it down. They're trying to slow it down by going after the unregistered toxic lenders, the Savvy Asset Management, and the guy Adams. I forgot all their stupid names. They're going after the unregistered toxic lenders. There's a lot of things going in our favor. The Kramers, like I said, we've been hearing a long time ago that they're tied to the FBI. They've been FBI informants, and that comes from another toxic lender. Lynn Partners is who my main focus is on now. I posted about their new victim, KNW. I don't know how people even buy a share of that stock. You got to be out of your mind. Their history is to short, distort, wipe it out, and get as many shares as possible. And their statement, which you read a few times, William, their document, it's brutal. Just do your homework.
That's a disastrous note. That is going to destroy the company. That CEO will probably have his health care and his salary for a while, but shareholders will be wiped out.
Right, so
Ham, I won't bore you, but I've told you before that I raised money for this healthcare company out of Thoroughfare, New Jersey. And we raised millions of dollars. I got I settled. I was supposed to get like 400, but I got 150,000 shares, and it was trading for £1.30. So I thought I was rich. It's a great company. It's done fantastically in revenues, profits. Yesterday, I got in the mail. Sorry, on Saturday, I got in the mail from the transfer agent. There's yet another split going. I now have one share where I had 150,000 shares. I now have one share, and it's trading at $4.
I warned everybody 100 times. This is the day game plan. They short it, they destroy it, and then the poor companies have no choice but to reverse it to stay alive. We've seen it a couple of times with CEI. I've seen it in Root. I've seen it in Mullen. I've seen it in, you name it, CELU, you name it. The shorts are thrilled because the position gets reduced. The price goes back up. If they were shorting it at 50 cents, do you think they're not going to short these stocks when they reverse back up to $4 and $5?
So let me ask you on the T+1 before you move too far from it. Remember, you told me that the stock market never closes for more than 3 days when it was T+3. Is that going to be a problem now with T+1 when there's a holiday? Or will they only close for one trading day at a time?
That's a good question. Let me think about that.
All right. Okay.
I don't think anything's going to change as far as that goes. The system. So you're saying if the market's closed on Monday, that the people are going to have to settle things up on Saturday, on Friday trades, right? Is that what you're saying?
I guess, but the thing is, there's no holiday on the market that goes longer than one trading day. You might have a Saturday, Sunday weekend, and then a Christmas Day, Monday, but you rarely get Christmas Eve, Monday, Christmas Day, Tuesday. So I guess it's not going to chanch anything.
Yeah, they'll make the back offices, whatever it has to be done. This T+1 is done for one thing, to show the world that they're moving to get rid of unsettled trades.
Right.
That's all that's going on.
Right.
There's no reason to go faster. There is no other reason.
Right. Okay.
They're doing it to tighten the rules. They know people going around the rules. They know it. Everyone knows it. All right. So we're all been looking for where is the flare, the heads up that something's coming. That's it. You're getting the. It's like in The Big Short. The housing market started to crash.
It's a warning signal. It's a omen.
That's this, right. I don't know what happens right behind this. They may come out in 2 weeks and say, okay, everybody, we told you it's T+1. And now there'd be a little twist about naked short selling in here. Now they're going to force settlement, and that may come right behind it. So they're basically warning you. So you understand, William, the people that are naked shorting,
Yeah.
they want that money back in the U.S.
They do,
know.
even though they have to pay taxes?
I'm just talking from a trading standpoint.
Okay.
They know there's people doing this stuff offshore, right?
Right.
So if they start doing it slowly, the shorts will start covering like root, okay? Because they'll think, it's not that bad. I can't really hold it down anymore. Let me start covering some.
Okay.
And they get some of that money to come back into the U.S. If they shut it down in one day, these guys offshore are just going to shut down and run away, right?
Right.
So this is a way to get them. Their goal is to get the money back in the U.S. Our goal is to expose Lynn Partners and their friends. Remember, Lynn Partners doesn't naked short. They sign an agreement when they do the debenture, and they swear up and down, we will not short your stock. But their cousin, their friends, someone very close to them is doing it. Whoever's naked shorting in Finger is very close to Jeff Easton and the other guy, Philip Lee, whatever his name is.
Lavalier.
They're close to these people. There's no way they would take all the heat from naked short selling and not make any money from it. People texting me, say something about GTI. I have nothing to say about GTI. The company needs to do a deal, and the SEC has to inform the thing. What would you like me to say? There's nothing to say. So please stop asking me. There's nothing to say. The game is there. The proof is there. For people that own GTI, if you're piss poor mad like everybody else is, like I am, take the proof, the NSCC thing, go to the SEC and knock on the goddamn door. I did it 13 times already. So I can't keep talking about something. They have no fundamentals. I can't say anything about it. The company needs to attack the SEC. They need to do it. I do not control it. So I can't talk about that. I'm talking about our company with fundamentals that can make this a big winner for everyone, right? And I don't care if you buy the stock or not. When this goes, we can circle back and we will buy other names that we know have big naked shorts, a la GTII. There you go. So sitting here defending something, I'm waiting for the company to do something. The company has to do it, not me. I have nothing to do with it. They have to build a business. Finger Motion has built a tremendous business, and it's growing like a weed. So why would I not talk about that? Williams interviewed the CEO. The CEO does videos all the time. All right. I'm hanging my shingle on Finger Motion, which brought me to the dance. I've been here talking about Finger Motion before GTI came around. All right. We helped expose everything in GTII. We exposed the Kramers. We even exposed their prime broker, Alpine. I think we did a pretty good job exposing the system here. It's up to the system to fix it, not me. All right. So Finger Motion is where I'm going to focus on. Finger Motion is what brought me to the dance, and I'm here, and I will continue to talk about it.
I think
the CEO. Yeah.
Well, I think the CEO is extremely impressive. If I can say it that way, I don't know. He's impressive. He's works hard. He has a great strategy which he implements. He has the trust clearly of the Chinese government. His market that he's targeting is enormous. So there's room for his percentage of that market to expand greatly. And his confidence levels are sky high. I think Finger all by itself can make back losses that we've experienced in other stocks just on its fundamentals alone. The potential of a short squeeze is thrown in for free. That's my opinion of Finger.
Well, I agree with that. Again, my family owns other stocks that I've talked about. I'm not mentioning their names anymore. We're getting my ass kicked in all of them. All right. So I decided I'm going to focus on Finger Motion. If you don't want to hear it, it's like the radio. This is the jazz channel. You want to hear hard rock? Go someplace else. What can I tell you? All right. I've done everything I possibly can, knocked down every door in the world. the FEC, the DTC, FINRA, they're your enemies. They're right there. Make a call. I put up the whistleblower's number every day. I put it up there 1,000 times. Call them up, get pissed off. They have the information. You have the proof in your hand. Look at MMTLP. You can't get any more proof than that. They shut them down and they won't talk about it, right?
Well, the CEO of Nextbridge, Greg McCabe, actually put in a news release that his data, that apparently FINRA said there's 2.5 million shares short, or 2.4. He put in a news release that his data shows that it's higher than that. He put it in a news release. So yeah, MMTLP is going to catch the whole system out. And you think there's only one exemption to the whole system? Come on.
Right. Well, that's the whole thing. Listen, the short sellers try to break everybody apart. That's what they try to do.
It's
all right. Again, if you're upset, whatever stock you own, and I'm upset about a bunch of them, I made more noise than anybody, but I'm focusing on this one because this one, to me, is at the finish line. We have been here for a while. When it got to 7, just so people you understand, when this stock was at 7, ready to explode, they brought in Capybara to write a fake report, a fraudulent report, to attack this company, and all the shorts attacked at the same time based on that fake report. Since that point, Benzinger has folded and retracted the story. What's his name? What's his name? I forgot his name. The guy Applebaum, Igor Applebaum, showed up in the Southern District wearing a tuxedo, sunglasses, jumped on a desk, grabbed a microphone, and started screaming, "I'm not leaving Twitter." That's your fake short and distort guy in a federal court in New York City. How the judge the judge wasn't in the chamber, wasn't out of the chamber yet, or else they would have locked him up already. All right. So I'm sure that Mr. Bazile will be getting our final verdict on that, and Capybara will be tossed to the pile, in which case it turns criminal because obviously he was shorting and distorting to create a fraudulent activity. So that's what's happened in Finger Motion. You know, complete fraud by that guy, and he's a buffoon. He jumps on the courtroom. How he didn't get locked up is beyond me. So again, that's why I'm focused on it, because there's things like that show you that there's fraudulent activity. And the other stock, GTI, you got the proof from the DTC. It's right there. It's right there. There's nothing I can do about it. It's right there. I don't know what. I'm not an attorney. Where do we go? Maybe you guys can ask Richard. We have the proof. What can we do? Who do you sue? Who's going to sue the depository trust? Who's going to sue Alpine? They're going out of business. Where are you going? I have no idea what to do. I'm not an attorney. It's the prime broker. Alpine is trapped. Let them figure it out. Anyway, let's get back to Finger Motion. I'm talking about the CEO in your video, William. I wanted to discuss it again. The CEO in the video describes that he has tremendous opportunities, and he's working on a major one that come out that will put him into profitability and send this company in the right direction. The company is fully funded, so we don't need any more Lynn partners knocking on the door. They have a relationship with Univest, and the CEO said that his relationship with that William is what? In good standing? I forgot the word he used. Was that it? Good relationship. They were doing good partner, whatever it was. So behind the scenes, so obviously they're still doing something with Univest. What that is, maybe Univest.
He used some term. I can't remember the terminology, but yeah, they're working together. But I think, to us it's frustrating. But it's September 11th till now. What is that? 6 months. That's a $300 million shelf registration. That's pretty big. So
right.
I'm not surprised it takes a while if something's going on. But on the other hand, I don't think it was for shits and giggles either.
Well, based on what I read or see from your videos with the CEO, Now, I wasn't there when you did the video, and I watched it like you did, so I have no feeling about it. But the CEO is talking about a major transaction coming down the road.
Yeah, exactly.
And
exactly.
So could Univest have been part of that transaction? Maybe that was it. And when the transaction does come, it's so major that the stock takes a major run, and that's when they can do some financing if they want to do it. That's how I see it. Because the company came out and said they're not raising money down here, so that's off the table.
Right.
So they don't need to raise money down here. Univest did a big self-registration for a reason. And the CEO has said on the video that he's here for this. They have a new business opportunity that he'll be announcing soon. It's on your video. So that's how I see, in my mind, that's what I see happening here. Do you have anything different?
No, I agree. I just, the other day, one of the guys live asked me, he had $8,000. What stock would you put it in? I told him, what I would do first is take half of it, put it in Finger, and then you could pick any one of the number of stocks we've talked about for part or all of the other half, because I think Finger can double or triple from here just on fundamental news, not on a squeeze. Right. And you've got profitability. I haven't looked at my own interview actually ever, but maybe the first day I did. I haven't since. But I think he talked about profitability happening this summer. And that's like kryptonite to the
There's no reason to be short. There's no reason to be short a stock once they're in the black.
Well, then they never have to go to the liars at Lynn Partners, in my judgment, and the pretenders at Lynn Partners, and the shorts have to cover. More importantly, the prime brokers don't want to be sitting with losses on their books. So.
Well, I put up a lot of stuff this weekend watching The Big Short. I watched it again last night. And in the movie, they said, Steve Carell says, I can't believe these banks, they're all bad actors. It's all fraud. Yeah. And that's what we've been saying.
Yeah.
And getting in early into a stock or position is not easy. As you can see in The Big Short, but they had to wait 2 years for it to pan out, even though they knew they were right. And if you look at I forget the broker in that transaction, William, I forgot his name, is a famous actor. And he says, I took a rash of shit for 2 years, but I was right.
So that brings up the question, Ham. These counterfeit short positions, do they, in your judgment, will they be covered? Do they have to be, or
yes,
will they be covered?
The SEC is telling you, by going to T1, they're focusing on stock settlement. I've been doing this 24 years. To get to T1, we've been looking for a sign from the gods, and you're getting it right there. So the companies that are doing better will go first. The others will follow. That's what's going to happen here.
I got you.
That's how I see it. I've been doing this for a long time. This is what I study. And I've been doing it before Pat Byrne and everybody else here. And this is a clear sign that something is going on. The back offices, they know it. You can't have public company if the public company is screaming and shareholders screaming about naked shorts. Everybody's talking about it. You don't think so, but I see it and I feel it, and more people are educated about it more and more each day. Going from T2 to T1, the SEC is telling you they're focusing on short selling and they're focusing on stock settlement. The world is telling them, China, South Korea, India, whoever else is throwing the hat into the ring here. And they're talking about naked short selling. Our government hasn't said boo about it. I haven't seen one thing out of the SEC. For anyone who's got a beef with the SEC, Hester Pierce will be in Tampa, I think it's April 16th or 17th. Go to her Twitter handle, email her, go meet her. show her the proof, whatever you have. Go there and tell her in your words, whatever you want to say. She's going to be in Tampa. She's right there. She's an SEC commissioner. I tried to tell the people from MMTLP, go down there, go fight her. There you go. She's right there. And this is the way you have to do it. You can't yell at us. I can't sit at the SEC. I'm not the SEC. I'm not the FBI. People ask me when I'm to the FBI, the Secret Service. They don't tell you anything. I told you that 100 times. They asked all the questions. We answered them. There's nothing. They don't sit there and say, I'm going to go break down the door. Here's your jacket. Give us a hand. They don't tell you that. You know, the DOJ said a long time they're going after the short sellers. You know, how would they not go after Hal Mintz? The guy was, the SEC busted him as an unregistered toxic lender in a naked short selling scheme. That sounds like a criminal offense to me.
Mm-hmm.
All right, they put people in jail when you're involved in a scheme to defraud or steal. They're all tied together. Lynn is tied to Hal Mintz. You can see it in the filings. They do a lot of deals together. They probably wake up, say, this guy needs $6 million. They go, well, I got a lot of money on the street out there already. And Lynn Partners goes, yeah, I'll put up 3. And the other guy puts up 3. And they destroy the companies together. That's when you get the two-headed monster attacking you. You're definitely not coming up for air when you got both of those maniacs in there. Because they don't even trust each other. Imagine that, William?
Yeah.
You'd be calling me up. Hey, Ham, you showing the stock? No, William. I'll be tapping my hand. Keep selling it. You know, well, that's what these guys are. They don't trust each other. It's free money. Steal all you can. I'm putting up $3 million. I better get back $10 million off of this thing. That's how these guys think. And like I said, Lynn Partners has been doing this. They're so obvious what they're doing. Just read the filing on KNW. It's right there. They tell you their intentions. They want to get the stock as low as possible from the company. That's what their motive is. That they have nothing else to say but that. It's right there. Anything else, William, you want to discuss? Let's talk it. We're talking finger motion. That's it. We're talking about it.
Yeah, we're talking, you know, people some of the feedback is, oh, so you're giving up on everything else. I think no, the markets tell you what's working. And the thing about the stock market is you can have your opinions, you can have your prejudgments, you can have what you wish occurred or what you wish would be. But each day, each moment in time, you have to look at the markets and make your best judgment. What's the strategy? And I agree with Ham. Let's try to see if one thing can work and then we can revisit the others. But I don't hear anything in what Ham's saying that's backing away on anything else. It's just that right now we know news is coming on Finger. I don't know what it is, but over the next weeks, months, I think you got 3 or 4 pieces of transformational news on Finger approaching. So I agree with Ham's focus.
There's nothing I could do. There's nothing. I tried. I threw the kitchen sink at everybody. The kitchen sink. Well, everybody was sitting in their rooms cheering the stocks go up and down. William and other people I know, we've been on the front line throwing the kitchen sink, trying to expose criminals. We've exposed the short sellers, the prime broker. We've done everything. I can't do any more. There's no one abandoning anything. No one has more friends and other names than me. Trust me. Deep money, big money. And they all agreed. Go get one, finish one off, and then we'll circle back and we'll come after the other one. Wherever it starts, it starts. That's the way it's going to be. That's all I can do. You know, my family owns GDC. I'm getting smoked in this thing. I'm not talking about it anymore. I'm just going to sit here, ride it out. I don't know why I'm here. My friend told me to buy it, and I'm sitting here like an idiot. But that's what I'm doing. ZJYL, I don't know anything about it. My good friend owns tons of it. Tells me it's going to work. Okay, let's see it work. I can't talk about it anymore. The shorts have been beating it up. TPLO, I talked about it. The stock was 7. IPO, the guy owns the whole goddamn thing. I put my daughters into it at $9, and I'm down 4 points in it.
Where
My company
we
gets their public 40 days.
where we have the advantage is finger, and
Well, the finger is that the story with finger is the difference. We have the advantage here is we all know the story. I've been talking about it a long time. People have gotten a chance to review, do some homework on it, seen the fraudulent attacks by Capybara. We've seen the Lynn partners. We know who they did business with. We know benchmarkers tied to them. We know the whole thing.
right.
But the company got through it. Raised has 15 million in the bank, has no need to go back to the street for anything. All right. They're not working on a cure for cancer or anything like that. They strictly do business in China, and they're moving into Southeast Asia, is what he said. He's looking to go into Vietnam and I guess Thailand. Their insurance platform can work anywhere, the way their algorithms work.
Mm-hmm.
And this guy has tremendous partners: Munich Re, Pacific Life Re, Assurant, China Mobile, China Unicon. I can't remember all the stupid names they have, but that's a pretty good list of powerhouse companies that these guys are partnering with. Other companies don't have that. So I can't do anything. Other companies need the regulators to step in and do something. We pointed out the criminals. I can't do anything about it. And I've been talking about it for years, and no one's done anything to help us out. That doesn't mean it's not going to work, but it's not happening right at this moment. So I'm going to focus on what I believe is going to work now. And and I tried to get Optimus on here today. He's the one that gave me he talked me into doing this. I tried to get him on today, but he was traveling. And this is the guy I respect. So again, his interest, he owns everything that we talk about. He's a good guy. And his interest is my interest. And you know what? I know him a long time. I actually have a photo of me, him, and Patrick Byrne at the what's the name of the hotel Patrick always stays at? The Oriental, what's it called? What's the name of the hotel, William? The Oriental something. Very expensive.
Where,
hotel.
in DC or London?
He stays in San Francisco. I met him in San Francisco. They're all over the place. The Mandarin Oriental.
Mandarin Oriental, yeah.
Yep. So I have a photo of me, Optimus, and Pat Bird back in the day at the Mandarin, and that was way back in time. So that's how long he's been around. So a guy who's been around this long, he's a guy who's got my back, and he said, "Hey, man, focus." And I said, "Okay." So he speaks for Mark Bazile. He speaks for everybody, and it's a guy that I respect. And I thought that, to me, is what I wanted to do. Once he told me about it, he told me to go back and watch The Big Short. He told me to watch Dumb Money. I watched a little bit of it. I can't. The movie was dumb. Besides Dumb Money, the movie was dumb. It was too stupid for me. Watching about Roaring Kitty, and to me, that was a institutional short squeeze, not a Roaring Kitty squeeze. Finger Motion is going to be a retail squeeze, and then it'll lead into the institutional squeeze. Very different game. Finger Motion is a very small company compared to a GameStop. I think is 25 million shares in the float versus whatever GameStop had, 60, 70, whatever it was. All right. And GameStop wasn't profitable. Finger Motion will be profitable. That's what the CEO said. So I look at it, we're in the same patterns with a smaller float, but we do have a monster short of 210 million and 1.7 million borrowed shares. Pay attention to the borrowed shares. They'll lead you to, because no one is shorting this name unless they're tied to the naked short seller. Do you agree with that, William?
Mm-hmm.
No one's shorting a $2.25 stock, borrowing the shares, paying to borrow shares to stay short on stock that they can make $2, but the company's going to be profitable. Why would you even bother? It doesn't even make it. Whoever's doing that is a bigger buffoon than the crook, than Lynn Partners and his friends. So it has to be someone that's related to or tied to Lynn Partners to be doing the real short. I wouldn't be surprised if, someone's super close to Lynn. Because there's no way anybody would short this thing. Like KNW, when someone asked me, once you short it, it was like 80 cents. I said, you got to be an idiot to go out there trying to short an 80-cent stock. The most you can make is 80 cents. The most you can lose is infinite.
Right.
Who would be doing that? No one would do that. Anything else, William? Anything off the top of your head? I don't want, listen, questions anymore. There's no questions on finger motion that we won't address. This is our first day of doing it. Tomorrow we're traveling. So again, we'll go on top of this. And I think we just need to stay focused on it. If anyone sees anything, by the way, finger motion, William, I don't know if you know it, has been posting all kinds of great stuff about business in China. And they've been retweeting it and putting up a great post on finger motion on Twitter. If anyone has a chance, go look at it. And you can see what they're saying, talking about being the head of the forefront in technology on 6G and this and all kinds of stuff. And, the company is definitely talking about, what they're doing. So again, pay attention to what they're saying. They're telling you right there. So again, just look at it, read what they're saying, do your homework. It's right here. Just remember how big the short is. I just told you again, 210 million naked short and 1.7 million real short.
Yeah, there you go. So I'm coming up to New York tomorrow. Are you excited by that? Are we going to have successful meetings?
Do me a favor, wear a pink suit so I know who you are.
Yeah.
Well, you're gonna be with some very good people, and I think it's gonna be a good thing for you to help build your career and our careers together, so we can move forward.
Well, but
and
for everybody,
we're here for everybody, and hopefully we can get funded in this meeting and begin our journey overseas. It's not cheap to travel the world. Again, it's getting on planes to 3 major destinations is not easy. So again, going around the globe is expensive, and we're doing our best to get to that point. So
do you think last week, which was the end of the month, last week, which was the end of the quarter, do you think there was additional pressure downwards on a lot of these stocks that might be lifted now just to print the tape for their clients?
Could be, again, they do that. Yeah, they mark them up in big stocks at the end of the quarter. They mark them down. And the one thing I meant to tell you, William, the other day, I wanted to congratulate you on this, but you did say you expected the market to get a big spike before we collapsed, and we did.
I did say
big
that.
Spike of it. Yeah. You did, and I've been watching it every day. And it's funny, the spike up has only been in 4 names. That's a different story. There's only 4 stocks that go up, and that's what you were calling.
What's scary is I think it's still going to go a lot higher, but the risk is watch the bond market. If the bond market rolls over and gets scared that the Fed is not in control of interest rates, our whole lives change. But for now, I think they're going to manipulate the stocks higher.
Yeah, it's easy to do.
It's 6, the S&P 6, the Magnificent 7.
Right.
Imagine if they just rotated into the top oil companies, the markets would be up. Or if they...
Well, I sent you about commodity prices. We discussed this a while ago.
Right.
That the commodities were starting to be a play, and no one paid attention to it for so long.
Right.
Someone just put up on Twitter, and I just happened to look at it, about the SHOT wins lawsuit against Capybara Research and Igor Applebaum. Benzinger retracts the inflammatory story. I mean, what more can you say? The stories are false, misleading, and the crooks around him what would need to happen is the federal agents need to grab Applebaum. They need to grab Applebaum, and when they grab Applebaum and ask him who's he working for, who's pointing him in the direction. There's 10,000 stocks. It's funny that stocks that are attacked are being attacked for a reason, because the shorts are getting in trouble, like they were in Fingermotion. I didn't follow SHOT, but they needed help in Fingermotion because we were running them over at that point. And that's where he needed help. So that's what they did, the attack. And for that, this guy has caused so much damage in Fingermotion from his attack. And once we get the Mark Bazile gets the final motion against Igor, I call him Igor, Applebaum, that we will make sure that we will transfer this case to the Department of Justice and the FBI to actually pursue criminal charges against him, because it is a definite 100% short and distort. His lawsuit in the Southern District will prove to everybody that that this guy's got major problems.
Right.
And that's about it, William, for today. We discussed everything about Fingermotion. I will bring out old stuff on Fingermotion so that we can see it. We talked about Fingermotion with the getting the top-up contract from the government that's led to SMS text messaging, that led to building out the algorithms for insurance data. Remember, in China, these guys can tell, like in the US, we do it here also. They can tell when you're driving your car and your cell phone pings the tower, like the police do here. In China, they can track you. They know that whether you're an Uber driver. That's what I heard this in a conference. So I'm going to repeat it as I remember it. They can tell whether you're an Uber driver or whether you just go to the store and back home. They can tell your occupation by your driving habits, whether you drive fast, whether you buy alcohol, whether you buy tobacco, whether you smoke, what you eat, because it's no cash. They can tell everything about 1.5 billion people. You tell me if that's not a story that's going to rock the world once Munich Re starts paying for it. They're not building out with Munich Re to make, $1 million. That's going to be 50, 100, $200 million deals once they start paying for it. So for the company to develop it and take its time and get it right, which they said they are, they're trying to make sure it's right. The Chinese government keeps believing, I was told this a long time ago, the Chinese government doesn't like change. So for Fingermotion to be involved in the top-up business and then tied into the SMS text messaging business, and they've done it, like he said, they do a great job of doing what they do and are trusted by the Chinese government. The Chinese government then gives them more and believes in them and gets bigger and bigger. That's how the Chinese government is. They just don't come in and you get knighted as Jack Ma overnight. All right, you have to be part of the group, part of everybody else, be part of the team, and this is how you become a big player in China. All right, if you don't perform, you lose everything. That's the game. And as far as I see, William, the company is getting and going in different directions. All right, they went from the telephone top-up business to now they're insuring cell phones. I've always heard they were going to insure. Next thing they were going to insure was electric car batteries and appliances in China. The cost of an electric car battery is enormous, worth more than the car sometimes. So that is the next thing that I hear that they're going to insure. Let's see if that's true. But think of the market there. We have home appliance sales here. We do that, right, William?
Right.
You there, William?
Yes, I'm here.
Just making sure you didn't drift off on me. I know in the U.S. they have, I always get things to insure your appliances or whatever it may be, extend your car insurance, whatever it may be, to parts, whatever. So this is something that they can grow into in China, right? If we're doing it here, they're going to do it there. And these are all markets that Fingermotion has. You just don't start a company, William, with 5,000 employees and to start going from nothing to something, right?
Right.
So the company's been doing it right, and slowly they're growing and growing and doing everything proper. And you know what? I've been here 5 years, maybe more, and you know what? I can wait it out. But what I cannot wait out is watching manipulation by criminals. I paid $287 for a company that just had the top up minutes. $287, and all their business was the Chinese top up minutes, which I thought was outstanding. I thought it was going to be great. $287. The stock is $2.25, and here it is. I got in early at $287. $287. It's $2.25. The company has 7 new divisions, fully financed, and the stock is $2.25. The only thing holding this company down is Lynn Partners. That's it. Since they came into the picture of this whole thing, the stock has been acting shitty ever since they came around, since we heard their name. Now, I don't know who they were. I don't know how the company found them. They found them through Benchmark. And that's what happened. But when the stock ran, the company raised the money, and Lynn Partners wouldn't take back the money. Think about that for a second. They lent out $4 million to Finger Motion. Finger Motion raises the money at higher levels to give them back the money, and they don't want it. Who doesn't want the money back with interest? Someone who's short, who's trying to only wants to drive the stock down and get converted at the bottom. That's what they do. And the story me and William both heard is how Lynn Partners, a CEO, walked into their office, and the first thing Jeff Easton said to them is, "Hey, we're not short your stock." And the CEO said, "Isn't that strange? I never heard anybody say that." I wasn't even going to ask him that question. And that's the first thing he said, Jeff Easton. I know the CEO of BRAG went to Jeff Easton's office, and I think they paid them back because he knew that he had to deal with it.
I don't have it in front of me, but back in November, twice removed, not last November, the previous November, Finger, in the span of about 10 days, somebody sold 95 million to 100 million shares in about 10 trading days. I've never seen that covered. I've never seen any uptick in the stock.
They go in, but they don't go. It's like one of those old commercials. You go in, it's like a rat trap. I forget what it was. They go in, but
the Roach Motel?
Yeah, the Roach Motel. That's right. That's what it was. All the stocks are like that. You don't see it. And this stock, particularly, we've been following it for so long and pinpointing what's going on that we followed the whole thing. We watched them do it and never covered anything. They only pressed when it got to $7 that time, and Capybara came out with a report. That tells you right then and there, these guys are still trapped and can't get out. Because what they did was so fraudulent by having this guy Capybara come out trying to bash the stock. That was a sign of desperation.
Yeah.
Okay. Don't get me wrong. They hurt a lot of people on that. I know they hurt people because I had people screaming at me. And I had nothing to do with Capybara or Lynn Partners. But people got hurt on that. There's not even a question about that. All right. It's taken a lot of phone calls, a lot of yelling at me or whatever, helping people off a ledge. Okay. People regained their footing. Some added, some are just watching. But again, we stopped the panic. All right. There was no reason to panic. They made it sound like the company was going to zero. They picked the wrong stock. They picked the wrong stock because the company righted the ship and doesn't need money and is building a business. If the company was a one-product company, it'd be a different story because they'll have so many up and down. But the company's got 5 cylinders. They're all going to kick off at different times, but they're in the biggest market in the world. Every company has a slowdown. But when you have a slowdown, you can't get a slowdown in 5 different or 6 different ways. They're all different. Whether it's text messaging or phone top-up minutes, or buying or renting, or starting to insure cell phones, or starting to insure, let's say if they go into appliances or whatever, electric car batteries, or whatever else the hell they're doing so much, or data with the big companies. The insurance companies want data. They don't want data for one day. They want data for years. Once they start, they don't stop. That's what I see. If you could just watch the videos, don't believe me and William, and make your own. We're just going over the things so that you can make a decision and you can figure it out yourself. I personally believe this is a company that I believe was going to be $100 stock on my own. Nothing to do with shorts. Nothing. That's why I've been here. When the shorts ran into it, that's when I defended it. That was it. And that's when I started fighting the naked shorts again. So again, that was that. So anything else, William, did you want to discuss? Anything else on top of your head?
I had a thought, but it passed. No, I guess that's about it. I'm excited that you're focusing on finger and interested to see what happens.
I'm not thrilled. I'm not happy about the destruction of naked shorts and things that I follow. It burns me up. But I have to get something across the finish line because, again, I'm not Rockefeller. I have to keep fighting for my family like everybody else does. So I'm digging my heels in here. I'm going to make a point of it. Everyone I speak to, I will educate them on it. They make their own decisions. Again, it's not advice. It's making my own decisions. You figure it out, what you want to do. Go play Kodak. Do whatever else you want to do. I could care less. But be smart and understand what you're doing. This is no joke. These guys are criminals.
Well, I like that you know, you're a fighter. You dodge and weave. You change your game plan. And the fact is, if people make money in finger, we can swing around and pick off some of these others. But, you know.
And let me tell you this, William, just to change the subject.
It's been a tough couple of months, so we got to do something.
Right. I'm trying to fix my backyard. My deck is awful, so I had some furniture. I put some pavers that I had gotten from someone who was divorced, gave to me. I used them for years, and I helped carry them out there. I hired a new immigrant. He's been in the country 1 month. His name was Juan, no English. The guy worked like a dog for $100, helps me all day. You know what? Someone like that, I have no problem getting to the country. He was respectful. And my wife's friend spoke Spanish, and I put her on the phone, and she was telling him what to do, and he was very nice. No problem with a person that wants to work and not looking for a handout. He worked all day. Anyway, I put some pavers out on the street, like 30 of them, the concrete pavers. I went back in the yard working with them, digging up a tree. I come back and they're all gone. Like, wait, who the hell stopped and get these things? It was amazing. I just can't believe that someone, came down my block and actually needed these 40 or 50 concrete, slabs and took them away, which is I was kissing the ground that they were gone. The next day I put out in the morning, I had a patio set, a table, 4 chairs and a table that I've had for 30 years. Very worn. I put it out. I went in the backyard. I came back and it was gone. It just shows you that people need things and they're willing to, grab whatever. So the economy is not doing well because, there's people driving around looking for stuff that you're putting in the street. And I didn't put out things that were exactly 1 year old. I'm talking 30 years, easy 30 years. We've been using it for 30 years. I just, enough is enough. I just, not replacing it. I just wanted to get rid of it. And just shows me that the economy's not doing really well. That's how I feel about it. That's just something that, like the truck driver that always calls in on these calls, he's always telling us that he sees the economy slowing down. To me, that was a sign that things aren't great. The
economy's not booming.
Yeah. You always look for something to.
How much are pavers worth? Each 16
I don't know.
inches. $4? $2?
I'll tell you that. They was heavy as shit. I took them from some gentleman. He got divorced and he asked me, you want them? And I took them years ago, maybe 12 years ago. But they're so heavy. I'm like, what am I going to do with these things? How do you get rid of them? I can't put them in my daughter's car. How am I going to get rid of them? I don't have a truck. You just look at it. So let me put them out here. Maybe someone will take them. And they did. They didn't last 6 hours in the street. I thought maybe they were gold bars. Maybe I made a mistake. I don't know what happened. They took it away. Hey, someone walked away with they could have made a small patio and they had the furniture, I guess. I don't know. Who knows? But I'm just looking at things like that, and and you get nervous about the economy, and these are things that I see. When people come around and grab your stuff and putting it out in the street in less than 3 hours is remarkable. Anyway, that's about it, William. So
All
again,
right.
we'll see you tomorrow in New York. Have a safe train ride up, and we'll meet tomorrow, and hopefully we can get things done and we get the hell out of here and go across the globe for us. All right.
All right. All right. Thanks, Ham.
All right, everyone. Have a great day.
Cheers.
And we'll speak tomorrow. Thank you.
Cheers. All right.
Call ended.
There's a lot of comments here and I can see why people ask me to skip them, and then they say, oh, you get upset and you rant. Let me just explain one thing, and maybe I raise my voice too much, that might be. But this is a fight, and the other side doesn't care at all. They're going to do anything. When I get upset at what happened, to me, a short squeeze was going on with GTII. I'm just describing what I think happened. I mean, not that it's anybody's business, but this is a Lenten period of time. I've said my prayers for Lou and for Lou's family. And Lou was doing what he thought, I suppose, was correct. But this is like herding cats. And that's how the other side wins. In terms of what I don't understand is this encouragement to keep doing the same thing when it's not working. What I hear by Ham's focus, I mean, I don't know. You saw the interview I had with Martin Shen. I haven't spoken to him since. But you try to listen for clues. Is Ham letting us know there's one or two things coming soon in Finger? That's how I read it. But I could be wrong because I don't know for sure. But he's talked about how he's had big buyers come in, and that's where his focus is. Now, I haven't heard him say that he sold these other stocks. I haven't heard him say these other stocks are to be avoided. But the stories are very simple on the others. So I don't think it's a bad strategy to try to. Do you think Napoleon went in to his battles with the troops up on one hill and the cavalry somewhere else, and then the forward front, and he didn't adapt as it went along? I think that's what we're seeing. But guys and girls, we are in a weak position. The regulators do not regulate. They don't regulate. They don't. From the time of Bill Clinton and his Treasury Secretary, I can see him, I just can't remember his name. The idea that the markets can regulate, Rubin, that the markets can regulate themselves and we don't have to do anything. Bill Clinton was the best thing the Republican Party ever had. Ever. From NAFTA to getting China into the World Trade Organization to welfare, quote unquote, reform, to putting 2 or 3 generations of brown-skinned men in prison for 3 strikes, you're out. I mean, and man, what a boon for lawyers. Lawyers could argue about the definition of is. Anyway, let's not get in another rant. I know New York pizza's the best. Come on, come on. We'll all go. The trip, that's another thing everyone keeps bringing up. The trip is time and money, and it's not something I'm in charge of. I've made myself available, and we'll see. I don't know what else to tell you. Well, that's a good point. They can blame it on that bridge. But did you see a barge hit another place? And interestingly, David, that bridge is right above that pylon is right above a high pressure gas line. I personally think that's a lot of coincidences going on. And we have a bribed president by someone. All right, I just want it's 3:07. I want to add to the common thought process. I'm telling you, it's time to start looking at commodities. I think we have 18 months at most. And we can bicker among ourselves, and you guys can tell me I'm a scammer. The scammer's on the other side. But I don't know. There's no question that the strategy, which I think was working in one stock, maybe both, they outsmarted us. And, that's going to keep happening if we break apart. I don't know the answer, but I do know the goal can still be the same, and we can start maybe with a smaller position than we had hoped, and we can get there. So I haven't read this in years, but I just want to read a couple of pages on oil. Oil, the paragraph, the chapter is called Oil, the Commodity King. And it has a quote to start the chapter. Let me tell you something that we Israelis have against Moses. He took us 40 years through the desert in order to bring us to the one spot in the Middle East that has no oil. And gold in my ear. It's actually turning out to be a little bit different than that off the coast, but she has a good sense of humor. So let's start reading, and this won't be very long. I must confess that this quote isn't directly relevant to anything I'm about to discuss, but it's a great quote, and it does suggest the special role that oil plays in the world. After all, Meir wasn't bemoaning that Moses had brought the Israelis to a spot that lacked peanut butter. In the pantheon of interrelated commodities which shape our world, oil occupies a special place. It's the commodity whose relative plenitude or scarcity will most determine whether overall commodity scarcities emerge and how quickly. This is because oil is the most important energy source, and obtaining all commodities, including oil itself, requires a lot of energy. If oil remains plentiful, then no worries. But if oil scarcities lie ahead, you should definitely be worrying and starting to buy gold. And if on a worst case basis, we approach that dire game over endpoint where to get oil requires using more oil than we obtain. In other words, you use more energy in than you get in energy out, you should be buying more gold. Oil, often called black gold, is truly a critical commodity. It's an existential question whether we will run out of obtainable oil before achieving a full-scale transition from fossil fuels to renewable energy. And the over-educated, left-wing, I got to be careful, Marxists almost, who currently control policy, they just figure we can move to renewable energy without burning oil. This doesn't show, gender degrees and art degrees and art history do not give people an understanding of energy. Oil has changed all of our lives, our grandparents' lives and their parents' lives. But it's been a bounty which has primarily helped the world for about 150 years. That's it. In all of human history, 150 years. And we burned through it, boys. We've burned through it. Note that I said obtainable oil. The world won't literally run out of oil. In a certain sense, oil is limitless, existing in places that we haven't begun to attempt to explore, much less tap. In the farthest reaches of the planet and perhaps beyond. Some of those areas may be feasible to explore and drill, but many more almost certainly will never be drilled. And accessing the ones that can be drilled will require rising inputs, not just of money, but of oil itself. Imagine all the ways oil gets pulled into the act if you hope to obtain oil from the remotest part of Alaska. Oil is used in making the drilling equipment, in transporting and operating it, in transporting workers and building housing for them, in flying food and other supplies into the camp, and in shipping the oil to refineries. Moreover, the more remote the area, the greater are the risks and costs of something going wrong. An accident in which huge amounts of the expensively obtained oil could be squandered in a few days. Increasingly, the amount of oil you'd have to put into the effort would approach the amount you'd get out of it. At some point, it will surpass it. In other words, for all practical purposes, oil is finite. This makes it urgent to act before it's too late to scale up the renewable energies such as wind and solar power, which are truly limitless. Now, there are problems with wind and solar power, and it's interesting that one of the problems is battery technology. And look what the criminals, look what Wall Street, look what the regulators, look what the Democratic Party allows to happen to a company like MULN, which has battery technology. But we look the other way as Ken Griffin buys yet another condominium, which requires air conditioning even to be valuable. But that's what we choose. And then we argue. People come on here and call me names that are, I guess, to provoke. But my urgency my sense of urgency, and I tried to get investors of mine focused on gold, but they're young and they look other ways. I tried to get partners to focus on oil and gold, but they, once they met the investor or the investor met my partner, what do we need Bill for? So it's hard to get people thinking about a time when the dollar is going to be under pressure and these problems become insurmountable. I believe in renewables, but the renewables from wind to solar to corn to geothermal, they make just a fraction of the answer, just a fraction. Dr. Helen Caldicott, in one of her presentations, she made the comment that in the United States, if we stopped using our dryers to dry clothing, washer and dryers, if we skipped the dryer part, we could forego the entire nuclear power capacity in our country. 20%, in other words, of our electricity use goes to dryers. Now, that's from my memory, and that's from Dr. Helen Caldicott of Australia, to my best of my memory. The urgency comes from the fact that transitioning to renewable resources, which involves such undertakings as building massive grids that transmit energy from disparate sources across big areas, will take a lot of energy. Will enough oil be there for us to succeed? Will we be smart enough to make effective use of the oil that remains available to us before it's too late? Sometimes I don't fly that much anymore, but when I'm flying across the United States at night and looking downward, the sky is lit with our energy consumption. Here in DC, in the middle of the winter, they put dump truck after dump truck to cart snow out of the city and deposit it. It's going to melt anyway. But we squander our oil as if cheap oil is limitless, and it's not. It's not. Oil is the fuel which gives us a transition to living in closer proximity to each other, building our high-speed rails, building our ports, coming up with battery technology, instead of letting these criminals on Wall Street destroy the market caps. Okay, so let's move on before I rant. Peak oil and energy return on investment. Perhaps you are familiar with the phrase peak oil, a phrase and notion that has been floating around for decades. Like many people, though, you may be under the impression that adherents to the theory of peak oil have been proven resoundingly wrong as oil has continued to flow, including via the putative success of hydraulic fracturing, better known as fracking, but not so fast. In my opinion, peak oil is one of the most damaging phrases ever coined. Not because I believe the notion is wrong. I don't. Rather, because of how it has been misinterpreted, which has made it, unfortunately, easy to discredit the notion of scarcities and therefore avoid doing something about them. The concept of peak oil originated with Shell Oil and Shell's researcher M. King Hubbard, Hubbard's Peak. And, that's something I studied quite a bit. As he defined it in the 1950s, it meant that once 50% of the original oil endowment in any area, whether an oil field, a region, a country, or the world, was extracted, once 50% of the original oil endowment was extracted, oil production in that area would begin an irreversible decline. But that was never meant to suggest, as it is often wrongly assumed, or assumed, as some people say, that production would then promptly start to go down or do so in a straight line. Rather, the message is that once peak oil is reached, it starts to get more expensive, both in money and in energy inputs, either to maintain production at that same level or to raise it. To put it another way, the marginal cost of obtaining oil starts to rise. The anti-peak oil crowd, however, seems to believe that peak oil affirmers have claimed that oil production actually will level off or decline. They then have used that straw man definition as evidence that peak oil is a delusion and that we needn't worry about scarcities. Do you see these evil gremlins present on the other side of this argument? The evil gremlins on the short stock side as well. These are opportunists trying to strip the world of money as quickly as they can, as if they can avoid the consequences of the crisis which will befall us. And all I've tried to do, and this is not new, is I want each of you to become financially independent, free of debt. Debt is slavery, and almost your own central bank by owning resources. More recently, the abundant oil production from fracking in the United States is taken as proof that peak oil was nothing but more than the ranting of geologists out to scare people with their pessimistic vision. But the complacency fostered by the seeming success of U.S. shale is dangerous. The number one thing, it was a consequence of printing money under Folks and Ben Bernanke, driving interest rates down to zero and putting helicopter dollars out there, which continues now. It's no joke. This printing of money made drilling for oil inexpensive on a monetary basis. It made chasing for returns a primary goal of so-called fund managers. And Wall Street bought into horizontal drilling and fracking as if it was nirvana. Think of it as two children that you give one milkshake to, and you say share, and you give them two straws. Well, as soon as the little boy gets distracted by a fire engine going down the way, the little girl starts sucking more quickly out of that milkshake. That's all that this this directional drilling and fracking did was to try to take the oil out of the ground more quickly. But in the case of fracking in the tight sands, what made it financially feasible was low interest rates, cheap money. But the fact is, it was not economic, or was very close to non-economic, on an oil in, oil out basis. It got as close to it took 1 barrel of oil to find 2 barrels. Some say it was even worse than that. And then there's the reserves are gone. 85% of the reserves are gone in 18 months. It's not a solution. The complacency overlooks that shale oil is more costly and more energy intensive than conventional oil, and that the costs of extracting oil shale will inevitably rise to a point where no amount of money will suffice to obtain any meaningful amount of oil at all. In retrospect, it would have been far better if instead of peak oil, Hubbert had talked about rising marginal costs of obtaining oil. This gets at the heart of the issue. If we, meaning the United States, can focus on that issue, it would save us a lot of grief. But there's no sign that we're doing so. And that's, by the way, that's one of the weaknesses of a Trump administration. He tends to think we can go back to the Elvis Presley days. For those of you old enough to remember Elvis Presley, that was peak oil in the United States, sending for fried peanut butter and jelly sandwiches to be flown in, driving these massive Cadillacs, and everybody having a private jet. He bought one of the first commercial airlines to be used as a private jet. I might overheating. All right. All right, I'm going to try to read the rest of these 3 paragraphs, and then I'll have to stop because my computer is overheating. If people understand a concept, EROI, which stands for energy return on investment, or EROEI, energy return on energy invested, not money, not dollars, energy return on energy invested. This is a ratio which attempts to quantify the indisputable fact that it takes energy to get energy. EROI is the ratio of the number of barrels obtained of oil to the number of barrels used to obtain oil. The higher the ratio, the better. An EROI of 10 means that it takes 1 barrel of oil to get 10 barrels. This obviously is a lot better than using 5 barrels of oil to get 10. An EROI of 2. A low EROI means both that oil is more expensive and that less net energy is left over to take care of all the things for which an economy needs oil. The lower the EROI, the harder it is to generate growth. As EROI drops, at a certain point, you're just spinning your wheels. When you get to a ratio of 1 to 1, when it takes 1 barrel of oil to get a barrel of oil, the game's over. It stops. This guy, Charles A.S. Hall, came up with this concept. So Hall concluded that it takes an EROI of at least 10 to meet the minimum requirements of society, to be a little more generous and supply a modern civilization with the cornucopia of goods and services it takes for granted. I'll give you one. 911. We have an emergency. I'm living in my suburban home. I'm a divorced mother, single mother of 3 children, living in a glass house on an acre lot, and someone's breaking into my house. Can you send the police? Well, how are you going to do that when gasoline is $30 a gallon? How are you going to do that when there isn't enough money to buy the gasoline for the police cruisers? How are you going to do that when the EROI is 1 for 1 and there's not enough oil for gasoline? That's why I want each of you to think in terms of becoming your own safe place, your own island in the storm. To be a little more generous and supply a modern civilization with the cornucopia of goods and services it takes for granted. He estimated that an EROI, that's Charles Hall, of around 15 is needed. The EROI ratio for fossil fuels has been in gradual decline for almost the time the world first began using fossil fuels as an energy source. This was essentially irrelevant because it was still so easy to get fossil fuels out of the ground. Lately, the decline in EROI ratio has accelerated, making it a much more serious concern, which cannot be ignored. Today, the best estimate is for the world at large, EROI, energy return on investment, is about 10. This means around 10% of all energy being produced is consumed by the energy industry itself in order to obtain energy. An EROI of 10 means that around 10% of all energy being produced is consumed by the energy industry itself in order to obtain energy. But this is the average. It includes the huge amounts of oil from the Middle East, where oil flows relatively freely, and the EROI is far greater than 10. Dragging the average down is oil produced in areas such as the shale deposits in the United States, where frackers have been plying their trade. Shale oil, this is what Donald Trump always trumps about, is far more energy intensive to produce, with an EROI well below 10 and continuing to decline. If current trends continue, the EROI will continue to drop. Of course, that's a meaningless sentence. I'm going to skip peak demand because we'll talk about that concept another time. So why have oil prices dropped and remain low? Interesting discussion, interesting arguments, ingenious sounding ratio, EOR. But still, if this is all true, if oil is growing scarcer and EROI is declining, why did oil prices crash and burn, dropping 80% between 2014 and 2016? This book's a bit out of, its data's a bit out of date. How could such a massive fall occur if the conditions for oil scarcities were unfolding? The answer is that period was out of whack. During that time, the oil markets were flooded with extra supply. In the preceding years, fracking in the United States had taken off. Between 2011 and mid 2015, fracking in the United States added 4 million barrels a day to US production. The Saudis weren't happy about all this extra oil coming online. Their solution was to have OPEC pump up the volume, pump all out in an effort to deliberately push oil prices down. The idea was that this would force many frackers out of business. Between March 2014 and the end of 2016, OPEC production rose by about 11%, or about 3 million barrels a day. So you add 4 million barrels a day to 3 million barrels a day. All this extra oil spilling into the market created a significant supply over demand, causing prices to swoon. There's 2 points to understand. One is that the surplus in oil at that time was misleading. It depended on the oil contributed by the frackers. And that oil on the margin, was uneconomical to produce. Moreover, the surge in supply came as the rate of growth in demand for oil had been slowing as the developing and developed worlds traded places. The 34 democracies with free market economies, the high income part of the world, demand in that part of the world started to decline. That is not surprising because developed economies typically start to need less oil, primarily because they focus on service sectors more than industrial. Meanwhile, even though the developing world surpassed the developed world in 2011 in terms of overall economic size, it wasn't until 2013 that the developing world surpassed the developed world in demand for oil. My aim in this chapter, the last paragraph, is to show that the world is facing oil scarcities, which will contribute to overall commodity scarcities and therefore to rising gold prices. I'm sure you have noticed a hefty note of skepticism every time I mention fracking. If you've bought into the idea that fracking can keep us well supplied with oil for a long time to come, I hope the next chapter will change your mind. I'll save that for next time. Dr. Stephen Lieb, China's Rise and the New Age of Gold. All right. We have 20 minutes till 4 o'clock. I'll try to go down these comments, but yeah, I might not be able to go down. All right. I can't. It doesn't look like I can go down the comment. I can't get my mouse to work. So my computer has overheated. Thank you for signing in, and we'll catch up tomorrow. Again, I will try my best not to react to shills and all that. We all know our stocks are down, and that doesn't mean it was a scam. It just means the criminals are winning, and it means that Gary Gensler doesn't do his job. So anyway, I'm going to leave it there. Yeah, it's very hot. So peace, love, and happiness to everyone. Prayers to Lou Bravo and his family. Prayers to Jenny L. Prayers to all of you in your fight. Prayers to world peace. And we'll talk to you later.